Hello there. In today's tasting, I'm taking a look at the fourth of the 5 Chardonnays from Kumeu River and their 2024 vintage. So this is the single vineyard, the Hunting Hill Chardonnay. So these wines were just released this last week. The winery, located in Kumeu, has been owned and run since 1944 by the Brajkovich family, and today a third generation of the family are running the estate. So it's 4 siblings. Michael Brajkovich, who makes the wine, he was New Zealand's first master of wine back in 1989. His brother Paul handles marketing and sales. Their brother Milan runs the vineyards, and their sister Mariana covers the administration and runs their mailing list. As well as this, their mother Melba can often be seen at the cellar door, but being in her 80s has chosen to step away from the day-to-day business of running the winery. Now, just to locate Kumeu, I've said before, about 25 kilometres northwest of Auckland. So Auckland, an isthmus towards the top of New Zealand's North Island, and Kumeu just inland from the Tasman Sea on the west coast here. So the location is subtropical, but the climate is very much moderated by maritime influences from the sea, which we'll see on 2 coasts near Kumeu. Now, Hunting Hill is a vineyard that predominantly faces north, but has a slight southwest orientation. Its soils are quite heavy clays, so they're water retaining and tend to give relatively high vigour to the vines, in an area where the maritime climate means annual rainfall is generally quite high. The site's orientation with regard to the sun, however, means the vines tend to get optimal sunlight, enabling a slow, even ripening process to go on throughout the season. The vineyard here was first planted in 1982. It sits just above Matty's vineyard, which was the original place where Matty Brajkovich had planted the vines for his San Marino Vineyard, which was the original name of the property. But by 1982, he was looking at moving away from the hybrid varieties that he'd used to make largely fortified wines, looking much more towards using international varieties. Hunting Hill was very soon contributing a significant part of what was Kumeu River's really very successful estate Chardonnay. However, they did have problems with the planting material they'd got because it had leaf roll virus at that stage. So in 2000, the Hunting Hill vineyard was replanted with virus-free vines. And that has seen the quality of the Chardonnay coming off this site improve enormously. Now, there was Pinot Noir planted in the Hunting Hill vineyard up until the 2022 vintage. That's now been pulled out, and the only variety being grown here now is Chardonnay. The clone that was used for replanting is a clone called Clone 15, and this has been trellised onto Lyre trellising, which is a means of giving the vine a bigger canopy so it has more leaves, to be able to harness the vigour of the site by matching the vine's vigour with a larger canopy of leaves to take up the sunlight. So by 2024, the vines here were 24 years old, so these are now reaching full maturity. They'll have reached their full root extension, and that should be helping to reduce yields a little naturally. Something which the 2024 vintage managed to help with as well, because although the vintage started with a lovely even bud burst and what seemed like idyllic conditions, there was a short spell of rain and cold weather just at the point of flowering that actually led to a decrease in the amount of fruit that's set. Now, the rest of the growing season was excellent, mostly warm and dry. It didn't get too hot, although elsewhere in New Zealand temperatures spiked. Temperatures in Kumeu never exceeded 29 degrees Celsius. What that meant was it didn't get too hot for the vines to function, they didn't shut down. Berry maturation was steady, flavours continued to build in the fruit right up until harvest. At Kumeu River, they began harvesting on the 29th of February in 2024, so on a leap day. Picking went on for about 2 weeks, and Hunting Hill is normally one of the last sites to be picked. Harvest itself was relatively free of rain. There were a couple of instances that interrupted the flow of the vintage, but nothing significant, and in general, the fruit reached the winery in pristine condition. Now, Hunting Hill is just across the road from the winery, so there's no diminution of quality due to transport here. Other than crossing a main road, fruit is pretty much processed on site. In the end, however, yields were down by something like about 30%. However, what they do say is that the single vineyard wines seem to be really good examples of the style of each of those particular vineyards. Winemaking at Kumeu River tends to follow a standard for all the different wines. So the fruit is all hand-picked, gently pressed, it's whole bunch pressed, but they try and get an even turbidity in the juice to put into barrel, so that the barrel fermentations are all starting using the natural yeasts that have come from the vineyard into the winery. And that way, because of differences in temperatures in the winery, differences in areas of the vineyard this has come from, you'll get a number of different fermentations going on at slightly different rates according to which species of yeast is conducting a fermentation and at which stage of the fermentation it's at. So that all helps to build complexity in the finished wine. All the wines here are barrel fermented. They're using entirely French oak from a selection of about 5 coopers, I believe. My understanding is that about 40% of the oak used for Hunting Hill was new, but actually I can't find that figure in any notes to confirm it. But there has been a relatively high proportion of new French oak used with this wine, so I would expect there to be some sort of vanilla and cedar notes evident in the wine. And the wine underwent its malolactic conversion in the barrel, so another factor helping to give roundness, smoothness and harmony to the wine. Then it aged with its lees in barrel for 11 months prior to bottling. And those lees will have been stirred up occasionally. So again, the lees, the dead yeast, breaking down and giving some richness and some roundness to the texture and the flavours of the wine. Looking at the notes from winemaker Michael Brajkovich, he suggests that this is probably a wine that's drunk with 7 to 8 years of bottle age. So let's have a look at it and see what we make of it now. There's a beautiful vibrant colour there. It's a medium yellow. I'm swirling it. Hunting Hill is labelled as being at 14% alcohol, which makes it the strongest of these wines, and it's clinging to the glass. It's not particularly readily forming tears. There we go, it's just starting to now. So a relatively sort of viscous, weighty wine in there, I'm expecting. So let's see what we make of the aromas, shall we? The aromas are very pungent. Instantly you see notes of lime, lime flower. But then behind that there are some mineral notes, a salinity perhaps. Then you see some flinty fermentation notes, sort of gunpowder, those sort of hints. Perhaps behind that you see some toasty oak, and all that is overlaying a really quite delicate white peach fruit. So let's have a taste and see what we make of that. The wine's mineral and citric nature very much to the fore. There's really quite a sort of a mouth-watering sharpness at the front of the palate. It's followed by cedary notes that are rounded out with sort of creamy, leesy, slightly butterscotchy notes. Slight hints of spice, little bits of nutmeg, cinnamon, ginger. And then you see a delicate stone fruit really starting to resolve, being lifted and given some juiciness by some lovely freshness on the finish. The flavours are lasting well. There's a drying texture, some fine tannins on what is quite a full-bodied but not fat finish. The finish on this is quite focused, it's long and lean, and thus I think it is correct that this is a wine that will take quite a while to open up. Although there isn't actually a Wine Searcher aggregated critic score for this, I noticed that Erin Larkin, who's a critic working for Robert Parker's Wine Advocate, has scored this 93 to 95 out of 100, which means the range she's scoring it in is a point less than the Coddington. Actually, I'm not sure I agree with that, because although the Coddington was a much more immediate, tropical, forward wine, I think the balance and the harmony that I'm seeing here with the Hunting Hill, I mean, I'm not really seeing its 14% alcohol particularly standing out. It's not making it big, hot or heavy. This is a wine with great concentration. The given time in bottle will come together more and allow that beautiful, long, currently very lean fruit to express itself with a bit more breadth across the back palate. I am being left with a lovely mouth-watering finish, which sort of starts with those delicate white peach notes and moves on to a more creamy and butterscotch note that lingers beautifully. So thank you so much for joining me. I do hope you're enjoying these tastings. If you are, Do please be sure to watch the last one for the Matty's Vineyard coming up next, and particularly if you're enjoying them, do please press the like button. I'd greatly appreciate that. If you'd like to be sure you don't miss the next one, it would be great if you'd subscribe to the channel, and that way you can set yourself a notification and be alerted when I release a new tasting video. If you have any comments, please pop them in the comments box below. That would be fantastic to hear what you think about the wines I'm talking about, the tastings I'm doing, or anything else that relates to that. I will leave a link in the notes below to the Wine Searcher webpage for this vintage of this wine, so you can see where it's available near you, what its pricing is. If you have any friends you think might like to watch the video, do please pass it on to them. I'd greatly appreciate your endorsement in that way. But yes, once again, thank you for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I do hope I'll see you again soon for another tasting. Till then, bye for now.